Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to make a semester update for my major, Cosmetics and Fragrance Marketing at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City because I've been doing semester updates and I get a lot of views and a lot of questions about my major at FIT, so I thought I need to do an update. I gotta get a YouTube video put out there for all the girls and guys who want to see this and want to know about my major, especially because we're in the middle of a pandemic and I'm going to school in the middle of a pandemic and it's just absolutely insane. So I'm going to do a semester update. This is my second year, which is my senior year, and I'm going to talk about the fall semester and get into details about my classes and answer some of your guys' questions. So if you are interested in learning more about my major and just knowing more about going to college during a pandemic, then just keep on watching. Okay, so first things first, if you guys are new to my channel, this is your first time seeing my face or the first cosmetics and fragrance video that you stumble upon, please click out of this video, watch all of my other videos first because it's going to be out of order and you're going to have a lot of questions. So I do have a playlist on my YouTube channel dedicated to FIT and to my major. I go over every single semester, the classes I've taken, my experience, everything. So that's a really great place to start, is just go back, watch my videos, and then do them in order until you get to this one. So this will be my most recent right now. But my name is Mariah. I'm 21 years old and I am a senior at FIT in the major Cosmetics and Fragrance Marketing. It is a bachelor's only degree program, so you can't do that for your associates, but you can come back and do it after you get your associates at FIT or elsewhere. Let's talk about the fall semester. It just recently ended. The spring semester starts in like 2 or 3 weeks, and I have so many good updates for you guys, and I get a lot of questions about how is this major online? Like, how can you put this major online? How has your experience been? And I'm here to spill all the tea. Okay, so we're gonna get into some of the courses that I had to take my fall semester. We're gonna start with my regular gen ed classes before I go into great detail about my course classes. So for my gen ed, I had to take Intro to Sociology. I love sociology. I've taken it so many times before. So this was a gen ed that I was like, I know I have to do this. Like, it's going to be a breeze for me. I love sociology. It's so thought-provoking. I love it. The way the class was online, because every single teacher has been doing it so differently, we had class every Wednesday from 9 to 12 or whatever your time is. And what you do is, this professor was like, you don't have to come to the live Zoom meetings, only if you feel like you really need to know more, but he would put the PowerPoints on Blackboard and then he would be like, okay, you can go on, you can read it. There's a discussion question that you have to submit by the end of class time. But you don't have to go to the live sessions. So I never went to the live sessions because I already had a prior background knowledge of sociology. So what I would do is I would just go into the PowerPoint, I would read it all, I would answer my discussion questions, submit it onto Blackboard, and that was it. We had 2 tests, so there was their midterm and our final exam, and they were online through Blackboard. Super easy, and that was it. It was a great class, and I did well in it, so that's sociology. Then I had to take Spanish 1 because I have to do a language before I graduate, and I waited till like the very end of my college career to do it. I've taken Spanish so many times before. I speak Spanish, kind of. So I took Spanish. This was probably like the class that gave me like the most headache because we sat there for the full 3 hours in the Zoom meeting, and like she made everyone participate. So there was no like logging into the Zoom meeting and going back to bed. So I was just like, oh my god. But it was really good. We had a lot of work for this class. So this was definitely one of the classes that had a huge workload because there was so many online assignments to do and projects and things to complete, and then sitting 3 hours in class, I was like, my head, like it was a lot. But I did well in it, and that was one of my gen eds I had to take. Another gen ed that I had to take was kind of last minute because I looked at my graduation requirements and I was like, oh my gosh, I need a history class, like, or else I can't graduate this year. So this was like, I literally enrolled in this class super last minute, and it was called Fashion and Slavery. It was the first time this class was ever given at FIT, and it was by a professor, I think he was from Harvard? I don't know. He taught at like an Ivy League school. So that just goes to show, like, you don't really have to go to an Ivy League school to get such a great education, because this teacher was literally teaching at FIT and he usually teaches at Harvard. So I was like, it was really interesting. It was the first time they had ever given the class, and obviously there were some hiccups because he wasn't used to teaching this class at FIT before. But we would just have really good discussions on readings and, you know, pieces of artwork and, you know, different images of like slavery and how fashion applied, how it would show that they lacked freedom and individuality, and it was really in depth and it was a good class. The only thing that we did was we wrote 3 major papers. They were a lot of work. They were 5 pages each, but there was only 3 of them. And then our final exam kind of was talking about our 3 essays to the class on the last day of class. So that was it. I mean, that class, I'm not gonna lie, there was a few times where I would log in and go back to sleep, but we got through it. Here are my 2 classes that were for my major. So the first one was global marketing, and it was global marketing for cosmetics industries, and basically we just learned how cosmetic companies or beauty companies in general take their brand and expand globally. So like, what does that entail? You know, when you're situated in the US market and you want to expand to, let's say, Italy, it's like, how do you expand to that new market? What are, you know, some troubles you're going to face, and what do you have to do to appeal to that specific market, because it's not the same consumers as in the US. So that was really interesting. We learned a lot about that and how to expand our brand, and we did case studies and, you know, just a lot of lectures, and we did like really cool projects and everything. So that was an interesting class. It was pretty easy because you go through this whole major learning about marketing. So it's like, you know, the basis of marketing, you're just kind of applying it on a bigger level because you're talking about the whole world instead of just like the US market. So we did a project where we picked a brand. So my group did Fenty Beauty, and we wanted to expand Fenty Beauty into India's market. So we talked about some of the cosmetic stores in India that we could go into. We also talked about the market. We did a lot of studying on the market in India, the consumers, consumer habits, all of that. And then we came up with a marketing plan. So how are we going to expand into India? What stores are we going to go into? How are we going to market ourselves? You know, what are we going to do on Instagram? What are we going to do for print ads? All that kind of stuff. So it was super fun. I had such a great group, and I love Fenty Beauty. So it was just a brand that I was excited to, you know, dig deeper into and, you know, possibly expand into, you know, a whole new market. So that was a really fun class, fun project, pretty easy, not too bad. My next class is where the bulk of my discussion is going to come from, because this is a huge class for our major, and this is fragrance knowledge as well as a lab for fragrance knowledge. So you take fragrance knowledge your senior year, and if you had watched my previous video, last semester I had taken product knowledge. So in product knowledge, just to recap, we learn about products. We learn about shampoos, conditioners, lotions, face washes, you know, a little bit into cosmetics, but we learn about products in the beauty industry, and we learn about their formulation, like how are they made, what are they composed of, you know, how do they work together, and then we had a lab where we would make some of the products. So I have a whole video from last semester on that. You could definitely check that out. And also, if you go to my Instagram, at Mariah Elise Makeup, I actually have a highlight on my profile that says CFM Major, and you can see a lot more behind the scenes of that class when it was in person. When we were making lotions, when we were making conditioners and body washes and rose toners. So if you want to see a little bit more behind the scenes, definitely head to my Instagram and look at that highlight, because you're going to see a lot more in depth and how cool it was. But for this year, we take fragrance knowledge. So this is the first time we get into fragrance, because we do a lot of beauty in the major, and the major is called cosmetics and fragrance marketing, so we have to learn about fragrance. Fragrance was something that I never really knew about. I loved cosmetics, I loved skincare, beauty, all of that, but I didn't know anything about fragrance. I was that type of girl where my perfumes were from Victoria's Secret, I had some body mist from Bath & Body Works, and that was it. I didn't really know much about fragrance, but I wanted to know more about fragrance. So I was super excited for this class, and it is also held by our chairperson, so she's the teacher for it, which is great. The way we learn all of this is we have a lab. So FIT is the only college in America where we have a top-of-the-art fragrance lab where we can make fragrances, and industry professionals actually come into FIT to use our lab to make fragrances. So this was definitely a downside of being online online because it was kind of a bummer that we weren't able to use this lab that you wait so long to use because you're so excited. This is the reason why you kind of joined the major. You have such an iconic, resource, and it's like we couldn't use that because we were online. So what did our major do? They did the next best thing, which I thought was absolutely great. They actually made fragrance kits and sent it to our houses. So obviously we're a smaller major of 50, which makes it so easy for them to do this for us, but it was absolutely amazing. I have my fragrance kit right here, and it's something I'm going to keep for the rest of my life because it is so beautiful, it is amazing, it's meaningful, and if I ever do get into fragrance for my career, because I am interested in it, this is such a great resource to use. But this is what it looks like. So it's actually made out of wood, like complete sturdy wood. And then it just says FIT on it, and it says fragrance raw materials, kits, naturals, and synthetics. And then we have a little thing to open it. And here is the inside. So we have a bunch of little tubes, and they're labeled 1 to 36. And then here we have a little guide that shows the number and then what is in that actual tube. So we have so many different raw materials, and then we have some empty containers. My empty containers are still full from when we had labs and we made things, but we get some empty containers. So like, let's see, like number 2 is bergamot, and here is our little bergamot. And yeah, so we were able to smell everything, and then, we just had to, on our own, purchase a little scale. So we just went online, and I personally bought this on Amazon for like $10. That way, we could weigh the amounts of each raw material that we were putting into our little creation. And then obviously I went on Amazon and I bought a bunch of pipettes because we needed pipettes for super cheap. We had some blotters that we could use to dip into these smells and be able to smell them better. And then additionally, we were asked to purchase the Macy's Discovery Kit. So what this is it's an entire kit with this bag, and it's a bunch of different perfume samples. So like this one is Ralph Lauren Romance, just a bunch of different samples. This one is Jason Wu, so like you get the little samples in there, and that way we were able to all smell some of the most iconic fragrances that exist today, and we were able to talk about it and talk about what we smelled, and we just had that on hand. So in addition to making our own fragrances, we also analyzed fragrances that exist out there today. So how the class would work is we would have a lecture, we would talk about fragrances, different accords, so we would get into like rose accords, then we would go into like some woody notes and some musky and citrus, and we would talk about it, and then in lab we would actually make some things. So we had a little formula, and it was like, okay, add bergamot, add lavender, add ambroxan, and like it would have a weight amount. So we would put it on our little scale, we would use the pipette and pour some of it in and mix all these scents so we had the right weights and it mixed really well. We would shake it up, we would use our little blotter, we would smell it, and then we would all discuss it as a class. So how did it smell? Was it easy to make? And we would just really talk about it. So that class was super, super interesting. It was so much fun. I learned so much about fragrance that I have never known in my entire life, and I was like, wow, I actually really love fragrance. Like I could actually work in the fragrance industry and I would be so excited. It's just so much fun. I'm really creative, and it taught me so much about learning how to smell things around you, and how everyone just interprets smell so differently. That class was so much fun. I absolutely loved it. It was such a great experience. You can check out my Instagram highlights. I think I have some highlights of doing my labs at home and what it kind of looked like, my setup and everything, so definitely check that out. But it was just super fun, and it was absolutely amazing, and it was, we made the best of the situation that we had because we had to have our labs at home, but I would say it was still a good experience, and it was still so much fun. Okay, so in previous videos, I always talk about how our senior year, we get a mentor in the industry. So every senior gets matched up with a mentor in the beauty industry, whether it's product development, sales, marketing, fragrance, cosmetics, anything. Nail polish, we get a mentor in the industry that we just have as a contact, and we occasionally talk to them, and, they give us tips and tricks on, what they do, in addition to, interviewing and job process and all of that. So they're really there as a connection and to help you navigate the industry, which is amazing. We're the only major at FIT who does this, and I would say it's because we are a smaller major. So I was super excited. It was a little bit more difficult because some of their connections, were laid off due to COVID, or they weren't really working and they didn't want to participate. But eventually we were all matched up to a mentor, and it was actually really interesting because my mentor is a sales executive for Juvederm, and if you don't know what Juvederm is, it's actually one of the biggest fragrance houses in the world. So they're the ones that, let's say Dior is like, I want to make a fragrance. They go to this fragrance house, Juvederm, and they're like, let me talk to, someone who makes fragrances and let me put together a fragrance with them. So they are deep in the fragrance industry, but not even just fragrance, just anything regarding smell or taste. So they can create the smells that you smell in your Clorox wipes. They can create the smells that you smell in your candles. They might work with, Bath and Body Works or different kinds of companies. So they'll do house and cleaning supplies. They'll do candles, home scents, regular fragrances, and things that you smell in your skincare products, and all different things that involve fragrance and smell and taste and all that good stuff. So it was really interesting. So my mentor is actually, she works for Juvederm, and it's super cool to hear her perspective working in the fragrance industry because, like I said, it was something I didn't know about. Now, we don't get to pick our mentor, we just get assigned. So at first I was kind of like, oh, I wasn't expecting someone in fragrance. I don't really know much about that. Blessing in disguise, okay, because I learned so much more about the fragrance industry, and it really opened my eyes, and now I'm like, wait, this is a career field I wasn't thinking about that I would definitely be interested in. So it was super awesome. Now, getting into internships, we actually need an internship next semester, our last semester at FIT, in order to graduate. But because of COVID and we're not in person in school anymore, we were given the option, if we can't find an internship, we can take a course elective. And it was just a regular course at FIT that we can take in substitution of an internship, because not everyone can find an internship right now. And like me, I don't live in New York City, so it's like I might not be able to find a beauty internship here because there are no jobs where I live in beauty. So I had to look for something remote. I worked with the Career and Internship Center, and she told me, she was like, list out, some of the top companies that you want to work for. She goes, here's a list of companies that are doing remote only, because you live in a different state. So I was like, okay, cool. I went on interviews with 2 different companies. One was a makeup company and one was a skincare company. And I have never had an internship ever before. This is my very first internship, and I've never worked in beauty before. I've been on many interviews for internships, and I've gotten let down by a lot of makeup companies, but I've never actually had an internship. And I actually got accepted by both companies. And I was super excited because I went from having nothing to having 2 companies wanting me as an intern for the spring semester. And I am happy to announce that, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably already know, but I'm happy to announce that I am a social media intern for Il Makiage. So this was actually the #1 company that I wanted to work for. At the beginning of this process, when they asked me, they were like, who do you want to work for? And I was like, Il Makiage. And I manifested it, and it's absolutely amazing. I already started. I'm on my 2nd week of the internship, and I get school credit, and I also get a stipend, and it's just absolutely amazing. I love social media. I create content on social media, so I just felt like this was a perfect fit for me, and it was a brand that I can stand behind personally. I stand behind, their morals and what they stand for, and their diversity and inclusion. So I really resonated with the company and felt like this was going to be a good fit for me, and hopefully for future opportunities, whether it's at Il Makiage or at other companies. So I'm super thrilled, and I'm learning so much already about social media and especially about the beauty space. So it's super exciting. That's how fall semester has been. I'm about to start spring semester soon, and definitely when I finish and I graduate, I will recap my last semester at FIT as well as my whole time in this major, and definitely share it with you guys just to keep you guys updated. It's amazing to watch my growth through these videos as the semesters go on. Okay, so that is all that I have for this video. If you guys have any other questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll always respond, or go to my Instagram, send me a DM, let me know if you have any comments. There's so many people who will ask me questions or give comments or whatever, so don't be afraid to reach out to me. I'm here to help, and I love helping everybody. So yeah, definitely let me know if you have any other questions for me. Like I said, follow my Instagram. You'll see a lot more behind the scenes of my internship, of school, and just the major in general. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe and give it a big thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time.